Good evening. Welcome back. It's a new month with a new special guest. As you can see, I've been promoting. I know you're sick and tired of it. You've been flyer at the video, at the flyer, at the video, but I was very excited about our guest tonight. So not only is our guest doing this and taking the time tonight, he's also Ramadan. So at first when I reached out to him, he said, I don't know how I'm feeling. In the pre-production meeting, he had to eat some food, get himself right, but he is here. Tonight, if you don't know who I am, I'm Quentin McDougal. I'm the host of the newest show, The Business Blueprint, which you're watching tonight. I'm also the owner of the Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network. So if you are a business owner, make sure you sign up and get a membership to join the network because you can see all events and all videos just like this. So let me get started. Tonight, I have the one and only Maurice Eastwood. He is an author. He is the owner of the Fresh Five Deli. He is an award winner. He'll talk about that tonight. He just received an award from the Greater Hartford Public Alliance, which he'll talk about. He's also a licensed therapist. He's the owner and founder of the Seek Therapy brand. He has an event, as you can see in the background, that he'll talk about tonight called Free the Homies, which is an amazing therapeutic experience that he's taking everybody down to Atlanta to do this event. So without further ado, this is Maurice Eastwood.
He said therapy, therapist, the brand, author. I run a nonprofit called Xity, spelled with an X. The X is because, like in math, unknown variable, which is the purpose of the nonprofit to basically benefit kids whose parents are deceased or incarcerated from all communities. But we're here today to talk about mental health and entrepreneurship. So the first thing we talk about is basically just recognizing the importance of mental health. That was big for me even before I had a company. I've always been an entrepreneur. Sometimes for good and bad, meaning like I done got kicked out of school for selling snacks and taking all the money from the senior class. Yeah, that was a whole nother thing. But one of the biggest things for me with mental health was, first of all, just knowing that something was off, not normal. I was going to therapy before I got to store. So when I was going to therapy originally, it was just because I was trying to get better understanding of what was going on in my life, some of my behavior habits, my patterns, and things like that. And as that went on, I got back into therapy about 3 or 4 months after having a store, just because I was just running ragged, like left, right. I had a lot of responsibilities, a lot of things I had to figure out for myself, and sort of some of the things I was going on in my personal life, as far as being able to accept help and take advice, was rolling over to my business life. And that's a big thing, especially as an entrepreneur, because if you got an idea, everybody's not gonna like the idea or think it's a good idea. So for me, it was important for me to learn how to differentiate if someone was giving advice because they genuinely cared, or someone was just giving the pain because they had mouth. Once I figured that part out, which is tough to do, but sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. But I noticed a lot of times I finished my day and I was just overwhelmed. Late nights, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. I know 11 o'clock, but 1, 2, 3 in the morning just to get back up and get into the store at 6 a.m. or to get back up and mail out sweatsuit or package up sweatsuits to get them all out and package up a bunch of items to get them all out. I finished most of my days is really just overwhelmed with like responsibilities, waking up with more responsibilities to do that I wasn't sure where it was going at times. You got those dark days and those dark nights where you're just like, yo, is what I'm doing going to be worth it? Is it worth it? You're not sure. You just don't know really. And that was a big thing for me. Figuring out how to make clear, rational decisions and not be too emotional in this business stuff on the entrepreneur world, which is tough, right? Because as an entrepreneur, all you really got sometimes is your emotions. You sure that you could get it. You got the feeling that you could get it. You think you could get it, but it's just something is not connecting with the two. And those things is what really end up keeping you up really late. You know what I mean? Or to the point where it's like, can't sleep at all. Or you're waking up because like, I got to be right? You're stuck in between the two of making sure that your supporters are correct based on what they think you could do, and then also proven incorrect. Also proven incorrect the people who give you the advice that you don't really want to hear. Another thing that I noticed that was the benefits of therapy was like the well-being and how much my productivity shifted as I was in therapy. Before I was working harder and getting stuff done, but I wasn't working smarter. There was a lot of things I could have did a lot better if I would have just worked harder. I mean, smarter and not harder. Accepting help, delegating, getting a team, accepting the help from the team. I had a team sometimes, but I wasn't always open to accepting the help. And once I figured that out, it was like, okay, this is starting to make sense. It's becoming not easier, but it's becoming more bearable. And once I figured that out, it was like, okay, now how can I make it so that there is growth that I can see? I started making a list of things that I wanted to see happen, making a list of things that I wanted to do, and making a list of what was actually getting done. Once I made a list of what was actually getting done, it was like I could gauge where I was based on my goal. And again, before all that, I had to have a goal, right? I had to know what I wanted to get done in all of my businesses. So real quick, when I say all my businesses, I run the brand itself, Seek Therapy, with my team, Fresh Five Deli with the team, the nonprofit with the team, and other little businesses that I've tried along the way that was just like, okay, what am I really doing here? So at all times, I had to figure out what's the goal, right? And then also therapy helped me better my relationship in business. It helped me to know that, okay, even if I think this is personal, I don't got to address it right now. I have to take it with me, dissect it at home, dissect it in therapy, and then figure out, okay, do I want to address it when I see this person again? Or by the time I see them again, does it even really matter anymore? Those are two things that I really had to figure out. And therapy really helped me with that. You know what I mean? Again, my creativity, that jumped a lot, but also I would say the main thing was like the work-life balance. My work-life balance, there was no work-life balance. It was late nights, early mornings. Sometimes it still is, right? But understanding that you got to utilize your calendar, utilize your time, especially with having a young daughter. It's like, damn, sometimes I see some of my customers more than I see my daughter because we don't live in the same house. Sometimes I see my customers more than I see my mom, my dad, because we don't live in the same house. And also, I noticed that my productivity was shifted so much once I learned how to set certain boundaries, which therapy comes with, knowing how to delegate, which therapy helped with, taking breaks, which is something I'm still working on. I don't do well at that yet. That's something I'm still working on. And I'll say outside of talking to a therapist, also physically just getting in the gym, exercising, working out, talking to people, those things outside of just a therapy office, those things is what helped me sort of find the good in therapy, but also helped me recognize what I needed to work on to reduce any mental health risks or anything of that sort. I would say that's like some of the main things that I would mention as far as me just recognizing the importance, first of all, of mental health. I'm not sure if Cube, you got any questions towards that, or anyone has any questions.
One question for you. So, what do you think, or what's the best tip that you can give somebody or entrepreneur or business owner if they're not ready to find a therapist right now, but they need to do something to calm their mind? Because as an entrepreneur, your mind could always be racing. So, what's one tip that you have for an entrepreneur?
Get a notepad. Either use your notes in your phone or just write them down. Find a playlist or a song that calms you. And if you're going to talk, if you have no one to talk to, don't just keep it in your head. Talk to yourself out loud while you're working or grinding. But definitely the first thing is write it down, because at some point you're going to get so far in your journey that it's going to be so blurry because you busting your ass so hard that you're not going to even remember half of the stuff that you had to go through. So when you write those things down and you have those days where you don't plan on looking at your journal, but you do, and you see the growth that you made and you see the grind that you put in, and being able to look at it and be like, damn, like I did that. You could credit yourself for that grind, that hard work. That's why you need that. You know what I mean?
And the next question for you, that I have for you is that, with you being a therapist yourself, and a business owner, who do you reach out to?
Who do I reach out to?
Yeah, who do you reach out? Who do you lean on?
Oh, I got a therapist circle. I never used to really. I used to keep it in, because it was just like, what y'all gonna do for me? Like, I mean, we didn't about talk about my problem. I still got to do all these things, but I got a pretty good, solid core group of friends that I talk to, and it's not more so for them to have their opinions. Before, I never used to say anything because I'm like, what are they going to say? Now I just say something because you need to get it out, and it put me in a space where it's like, all right, now after I know that they've heard enough from me, I can ask them like, am I bugging? Or I don't really need you to say nothing, but just listen to what I had to go through today, and I just get it out. You know what I mean? And then after a while, being able to talk about it to people made it easier to talk about it with myself. You know what I mean? So it's just a balancing of knowing like what I want to take to therapy, because you don't want to waste your time in therapy and talk about stuff that you could talk about with your friends. But I also, you want to just maximize the, what's the word I'm looking for? Maximize the, that's what I'm saying. You want to maximize your resources, your internal resources of knowing how to figure out what you have going on within yourself. If it's all the time like, oh, my therapist is not answering, so that's your excuse as to why you can't figure something out, you're gonna need a little bit more than just one session a week, if that's what you're gonna try to pull off every time something don't go your way. You know what I mean? Next one we're gonna talk about is breaking the stigma and seeking help. The first stigma, usually stigmas has a negative connotation next to it, which is money, right? First one, as business owner, entrepreneur, you get money, that's a great thing. But the expectations from other people to make their responsibilities your responsibilities, it could drain you, put you in a rabbit hole. And if you're an empath, or a person who just, for those who don't know what an empath is, if you're a person that just feels and takes on everything that everyone has going on around them, you're drained. Mentally, you're already tired because you're trying to get your plan to work. And if you're a real entrepreneur, I'm talking about one that's, I don't want to say real like that. If you're an entrepreneur that put everything in one basket, it's going to be days when you just don't want to talk to people. It's going to be days when you feel like, damn, I can't get it right. You feel like, damn, am I not, like, am I bugging out? Like, did I make the wrong choice? Like, am I not equivalent to my expectations that I have of myself, if that makes sense? Am I not good enough, or am I not going to be, I never really worry about being liked, but I be speaking as entrepreneurs as a whole, you have to worry about, am I not going to be liked if I keep telling this person no? But when they see that you got a store, you got a brand, or if you got a social media page that gets a lot of likes, they think that you have money, or everyone think that all of your shit is together. Like, because we've all bought a product from somebody, and you buy a product from someone, and the product looks a little off. Like, I was having a conversation earlier with someone who buys shirts from people. Shirts ain't always the best, but then they buy a shirt from me, and the shirt is of good quality, or they see that my merch is being done, cut and sewn, and like, oh, you gotta have money, or how you post 300 sweatsuits, you can't give me $20. It's just responsibilities, expectations, and you can let all that stuff add weight on you. And mentally, you're already gonna be tired, drained. You're gonna have days when you can't even figure out. You're gonna forget to eat. You're gonna forget to do a lot of stuff that you need to do to function, but you're so invested in trying to get this thing to work that you can't even figure out what it is that you really want to do. There is no other backup plan because it's the fourth thing that you done tried and no one's believing in you and those type of things. So you could really find yourself just lost in the sauce for real. Yeah, I would say the first stigma is that, like, the expectations that people put on you to just have it all going on for yourself and not being able to say no to people without it being a problem because you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner. Um, Another stigma is like I'll probably say like, when you leading by example, it's a saying, heavy is the head. Can't do wrong. It's like I'm in a space where, yeah, I'm a business owner. There's a lot of business owners. Okay, yeah, I own a brand and I have a brick and mortar. There's a lot of people that own a brand and have a brick and mortar. Okay, and you add in that I'm a therapist. There's probably a lot of people that do all three of those. You add in that I run a nonprofit and I teach a class on nonviolence with teaching MLK's 6 principles of nonviolence to young kids who are at-risk youth. So it's like the expectations for me, however, I can't mess up. Because some people their mindset is so low that they feel like if they see me hanging with friends that I grew up with and their idea of whatever a thug or a hoodlum or a goon looks like, if they see me hanging with a person that fits that mold, it discredits in their mind, they'll discredit everything else that I'm doing or try to discredit the people that I'm helping because I can't hang with people that look like that in their eyes. I can't show up to places in a sweatsuit or in all black sweats, or I have to keep myself a certain way, or I have to prove myself more because they can't see past certain things because of how they're programmed to look at things. So leading by an example is a tough one because I'm aware that the work is what matters. But some people who aren't doing the work, they just look at what you look like on the outside in your presentation, and they use that to dictate your worth and your value. So you have to stand strong and firm in knowing that I know what I'm doing and my work is going to prove and speak for itself. That's one thing that's really, really important. And then it's also like, another one is like safe spaces. There's not a lot of safe spaces. And as a therapist, as well as an entrepreneur, I should say, sorry, as an entrepreneur, the expectations from you, again, is always about expectations, right? The expectations for them to show and prove what it is that you're doing. And if you can't show it in that moment because it's still building up, it's more expectations on you because there's people waiting for you to fall. We crabs in a barrel. You know what I mean? So, but that is like that safe space that's needed, that's not there, you have to build yourself a cloak. You have to figure out how to build this cloak around you so that when you take all that stuff off that you've been wearing all day, you can put it down, sit there. You almost like, I know it sounds like kind of fake, but you got to let your cloak recharge so that it can take on all the things that's happening outside of your safe space. So that when you get in there, you're not bringing that stuff with you. I'll say those are like the 3 things really around the stigmas. You have the ones around like, oh, as an entrepreneur, you have to be this a certain type of way. You have to act a certain type of way. You have to listen to this. And if you don't listen, you think you know it all. You think you got it all figured out. Every time you say something, everyone thinks like, oh, you think because you're becoming successful in their eyes, you're successful in their eyes. In your eyes, you feel like you haven't even scratched the surface of your real goal. So you have to maintain that. And if you are going to therapy, you have to maintain that and be able to handle that the 6 days or the 7 days in between your sessions, depending on how often you go. Or if you go once a month, you have to figure out how can my cloak protect me from all of these negative things that's going on inside of this world or this energy space that I have to operate in. I would say those are like some of the things, those are the main things that stigma plays a role in as far as like with entrepreneurship at least. And seeking help. I'll say another one too is the resources again, right? So I'm a Black entrepreneur, obviously you can see that. But in the Black community, you expect people to, again, expectations, right? You expect people to understand that you have a lot going on, but you have to also understand that they have a lot going on. And those stigmas of when a person comes in, oh, they're not gonna have it all, they're not gonna do this for you, they're not gonna be able to help you with this, you're not gonna be able to help you with that. You don't really want to deep dive into how do I want to word this? You don't even want to deep dive into what you feel people think about you. Those are things that will literally drive you insane. Stigmas are real, double standards are real, but none of those things are realer than your grind. The grind that you like, the grind is the real thing. So if you let the grind and the goal overweigh the things, the expectations, and the weight that you're adding on your shoulders, everything will balance itself out, I promise you. no matter how crazy your idea is, no matter how insane you think it is. Like, I'm on a Zoom right now with Q. There's a person who thought of this idea for us to be able to do this, and people told him it probably made no sense, but it works. But it's, can you withstand the stuff that comes around it? So that's like the main thing. But I'll say the main thing with this, the main stigma around entrepreneurship, and the one thing that I feel like everyone needs to seek the help with when it comes to being an entrepreneur, is the expectations from others and what they want from you, and sometimes also what you want from yourself. Not knowing in that moment and feeling like, oh, I'm a failure, I'm a this. You're gonna have those days, but you got to fight it. Embracing vulnerability, and so that you can grow, right? First thing, I don't really like the word vulnerability because it, it means being open to the fact that you could be hurt. Not saying other people can't like the word, but me, Splash, I don't like the word vulnerability. I like the word transparency, only because it's more about saying how you feel. Like, I come from the north end of Hartford. I look how I look. My peers come from around this area, the ones that I really rock with the most. And I would say those people, like, it's tough. Even talking about it is tough for me, but pardon me. What, you have to know that being hurt comes with this based off where we come from. We're raised by people who have been hurt. So I just don't like the word vulnerability. Is a really tough word for me. I really just don't like it. But transparency, however, talk about what you have going on. Speak about yourself. Speak about your challenges. Balance your emotions. You have to learn how to build trust, especially for people who are taught not to trust people. But as an entrepreneur, if you want your business to grow, you have to trust the people that's going to be under you. Therapy played a major part in that for me. I had trust issues, still working on it. But there were certain exercises that I did, and sometimes I would ask people questions, the answers that I already knew, just to see, okay, are they going to do this? Are they going to be transparent? Are they going to be honest? If something is off, will they come and tell me? And I use those things, and I would give them points in my brain, like, okay. So when something did go wrong, I didn't just scrap the whole project. They built up enough for me to trust them with whatever project you're working on as an entrepreneur. That's your baby. He did enough to trust you, for you to trust them to help you with that. Another thing is learning from, like, failures. I tried a lot of projects. And there's a certain thing that's instilled in all of us to keep trying, but our environment, however, puts this, not our environment, society puts this thing on you, like, oh, if you're this age and you're not done yet, you're a failure, you're stuck, you just suck, give up. It's not a real thing. A lot of us are doing things that we don't know someone personally who has done it. And if we have, we're trying to do it past the magnitude that they have. So learning from your failures is a major thing about embracing the vulnerability or embracing the transparency and speaking on it. Don't get out there acting like you didn't fail, because what you do when you act like nothing goes wrong in your life, the expectations, again, from people grow. And what they want to see from you is perfection, because you act like everything is perfect. And because you've acted like everything is perfect, they want to see perfection. There's no such thing. The closest you will ever be from perfect, or what I call perfect, is practicing what you preach. So if you can do that, that's as close as you're going to get to perfection. And also another thing is try stuff, be innovative, be risky with your thinking, be risky with the chances you take, do things that don't necessarily seem like the norm, but it's something that you think could separate you from the pack. If you could do those things, it'll put you in a space to be able to grow your brand or grow whatever it is that you're doing as an entrepreneur. I would say another thing is inspiring others, right? When you inspire others, you see them doing things, and sometimes they'll give you your credit. If they do, it doesn't matter, because if you're not doing it for the credit, it won't matter anyway. But you'll see certain things in their actions, and those things will allow a certain environment of cultural openness and authenticity for you to see that, like, yeah, what I'm doing is working. Oh, it is getting me. And it'll build you up mentally, and it'll add you with a little mental oomph or a little mental swagger for you to say, like, yo, this shit ain't a problem. Like we talked about stress earlier, me and Q did, and I was telling them about stress. Like, stress is not something I subscribe to. The word isn't something I subscribe to. Being stressed out is not a thing I subscribe to, because you got to care enough for you to be stressed out about those things. And you have to acknowledge that this thing is bigger than me for it to stress you out. If you don't give anything that power over you, understand it's out of your control, then you shouldn't be stressed about it. And that's one of the main things as an entrepreneur that's helped me with my mental health, is knowing that if it's out of my control, I shouldn't let it stress me. And if it is of my control, then I can do it, because there's nothing that you really can't do if it's physically possible. Those are the two main things that's helped me, along with just trying all these projects and going to therapy. And even when I wasn't going to therapy, those two things is the things that helped me to try a business that didn't work. Like I had a car chauffeuring service. It was going well, but my drivers would cancel every night. And I'm up fixing up the store, sending out packages, driving people to New York airports. Did that for a while. Had to sell that. I had a party rental business. I didn't like the idea after a while of just showing up at random houses in certain neighborhoods, not knowing who's going to be there when I'm dropping the stuff off. I was going to know who's going to be there when I'm picking the stuff up. So I got rid of that. Just a bunch of projects that I tried, but I was okay with trying them and them not meeting the expectations that I have of those things, because it's like I didn't let that affect me. When people be like, "Oh, you stopped already? You quit already?" Those little statements can drive you insane. So I would say those are like some of the main things when it comes to the embracing vulnerability part, especially for growth. Because growth is the major thing there, right? We all trying to grow our brand, grow through our failures, grow in the direction of like whatever the expectations we have of ourselves. Because expectations is what it's all really about. People have expectations for you. You have expectations of yourself. I would say those are the main things that I think of when I talk about like embracing the vulnerability for growth. You got any questions for me, Q?
So in the chat, someone says, how do you prioritize your own mental health as an entrepreneur when you have so much to manage?
So I never used to, but I had to start listening to the people around me. And the people around me would say things that's like, yo, they'll say things and I started to notice. And when I say I never used to, I mean just me solely going to therapy. That part I just stopped for a while. But on the flip side, music helped me a lot. I would listen to music that didn't have anything to do with curse words, anything to do with curse words. I would fast. I mean, I would fast obviously for Ramadan, but I would also fast in the summer. The month of July, I would go on like a cold fast where I would do 5 a.m. wake up, no matter what was going on, wake up at 5 o'clock, no sex, no intimacy, just water, fruit only on certain days, no rap music, just putting yourself on a strict system. Because first, so in order to get a certain level of peace or just balancing your mental health, you have to have initial isolation. Within that isolation, you have to create a framework. When you create that framework of obedience, you have to test out the framework that you put out there. So you'll need a routine. After you have a routine and test that out and it works, and you figure out how to tweak it, you got to stick to that. Because if you can't stick to a routine or something that you set for 30 days, entrepreneurship is not for you. I mean, I'm not the entrepreneur god to tell you, hey, you can do this or you can't. But if you can't stick to a fast, to your standards, whatever goals you set for yourself for at least 30 days, entrepreneurship is going to break you down. That's just the honesty about it. Hopefully that answers the question.
So my first question for you, we talk a lot about seeking therapy. I know you have the retreat coming up. Can you tell us a little about your retreat that you have going on June 27th?
The Free the Homies retreat. It's a wellness retreat for men, only for men. It's in East Point, Georgia, June 27th. If I can move my head a little bit, June 27th to the 30th. It's called Free the Homies retreat, mainly because I had somebody ask me, do you have to be a former criminal with a record to go to this retreat? No, you do not have to have a criminal record. I don't know why people think that. But the retreat is basically freeing the homies from expectations, feelings of inadequacy, financial inadequacy, uh, self-limiting beliefs, social pressures, just feeling like you just can't get it right, feeling like you want to be better, but you don't really know how, feeling like you don't matter often, uh, mental barriers that usually lead to depression and like other challenges. It's putting everyone in the room to start like a journey that you'll have to go on personally. We started it as a group of men. I'm not gonna say like-minded individuals because everybody in there doesn't really won't necessarily think the same way, right? But I'm putting people in the room whose sole purpose is to grow and become a more superior version of themselves. Doing so using uh, activities and workshops that we put together, put these men in the room to start their will, talk about some stuff that they still carry from their childhood, talk about areas that they want to grow in as a father, as a boyfriend, as a husband, how to become the better version of themselves, whatever it looks like to them, and putting them in a room with people who are 10 years younger, 20 years older, and saying like, wow, I went through that. I remember feeling like all those things of vanity matter. I remember when I subscribed to the macho masculinity, toxic masculinity, or that super macho thing where it's like, oh yeah, just get mad girls and do this and this and be good. But bro, can you say you're not feeling okay? Can you cry and not have to put a disclaimer around why you're sad? Um, can you cry and not feel like, oh my gosh, excuse my language, but I'm such a bitch? And it's like, do you know how to express your love? Do you know how to say that uh, there's things that I'm attached to that are just vain? It's vanity controlling you. We're gonna wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We got 5:30 to 7 physical fitness. We got the clean eating breakfast. We got late night every day. We got a daily ice bath thing that everyone's gonna have to go through. Yeah, because the next morning you got to be able to work out, and I can't send you back home to your lady, back hurt, leg hurt. She gonna wonder what you was doing in Atlanta. She's not gonna believe you was at a retreat, so I got to send you back home. But yeah, nah, I tell everybody, send this to us. And I'm not doing this retreat because I'm better than anybody. Just to be clear, the retreat is because I'm aware that I have the resources and the desperation to come together with men to add quality or improve the qualities. And then doing so, it'll put us in a space where, like, hopefully, their kids share class with my nephew, their kids share class with my daughter. And it trickles down. It's like having the effect on people without even being, which is something that's big for me.
Great answer. Next question. So another question from the chat. It actually ties to this. Do you find it difficult with your peers getting them to open up? Because you seem like you're very open, you're very honest with people. Do you find it challenging to get your peers to open up, especially when you have a retreat coming up, people coming?
See, the problem is I don't find it different. No, I find it difficult for them to open up with everybody but me, and that's my problem, right? Because now I got 17 people telling me all their problems, and then by the time I actually want to talk to somebody that I actually want to talk to, I've heard problems from 30 people. You know what I mean? But I do find it difficult for them to do so. And I don't want to get into like a gender thing, but for men, I find it difficult for them because sometimes they'll say something to somebody, like their significant other, and she might chuckle. And for a dude, if you're expressing yourself, some dudes don't come right out and say they sad. I'm sad. They'll make a joke or they'll say I'm sad and laugh it off first. They don't know how it's going to receive. But then if you chuckle, we shut down. You know what I mean? And so we'll still physically show up, but emotionally, we already checked out. We knew this shit, bro. We ain't about to talk about this shit. It's done deal. You know what I mean? So like, it's extremely difficult, especially when some people deep dive all of their like hardships into alcohol, drugs, my friends, pills, lean, like pick it, you name it, somebody doing it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's extremely difficult, especially because too, it's looked at as like you soft or you're a bitch. But it's like you understand how emotionally strong you have to be to actually express that you're sad. To actually let it be known in a room full of people that got to be so macho, so hard, or such a baddie that like, hey, I'm not okay. Like that shit is hard. So like I find it difficult for people to open up, not with me, but as a whole. But usually because when they try to, it's something that deters them from that. And it's usually because why? They're not taught how to express themselves. So because we're not taught how to do it, we're learning it on the fly. If you luck up and get a partner who knows how to do it, that's one thing. But being able to accept that they know how to do it is a whole other thing.
Mm.
You know
Makes
what I mean?
sense.
There's a lot of people that lost good people solely because their stubbornness or ignorance didn't allow them to receive what was being given to them. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's extremely hard for me to find people that want to be transparent and want to show love to each other and want to express themselves. That shit is hard. I mean, I had to learn to do that shit, and I was telling people to seek therapy before I really fully knew how to 100% express myself. You know what I mean? So like that's something that's like, man, if you find somebody that can't express themselves, ask them how so you can add more things to your arsenal or to your notepad on how to do it. Really.
All right, and my last question before we wrap, unless anyone has any other ones, put in the chat for free. What's one, because we talked about growth a little bit, what's one thing you're most proud of with your growth? Because you talked about the journey that you've gone on. What's the one thing that you think you're most proud of?
What I actually say holds some sort of weight in a sense for people to like appreciate it. So when they come to me, it's like, as a man, I know how hard it is for me to, it used to be for me to just go talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Me just go talk to a random stranger. So it's just like for a man to come talk to me, or female as well, but for a man to come talk to me, I understand how much of your pride, your ego, and all that you have to swallow. Just say what's up to me if you don't know me, without feeling like, oh my God, I'm a fan or this, and that. So like, yeah, like checking myself and saying to myself, like, yo, bro, you know your worth, you know your value. So if you know these things, of course, there are going to be people. I understand that I was put into the position I am because of God. Like, you get what I'm saying? So me acknowledging that God is real, and and that my job is to lead. I had to like come to terms with it. I had to come to terms with saying like, yo, like I'm not trying to see who could piss further than the other person. I'm not on none of that with you. And once I was able to like not like chase my ego, helped me grow a lot.
That was a great answer. As you said, sometimes you thought you would, but I hope he answered your question in the chat for that one. Any other question before we wrap? So as we wrap, I want you to tell everybody where they can find you because one place, I got my Seek Therapy shirt. So tell everybody where they can find you on socials, at your brick and mortar.
Damn.
Run down your list of all your businesses.
You find me. I'm usually at Firefighter Deli often. That's 2570 Main Street, Hartford. It's at the corner of Main and West. You ain't gonna miss it. It's the big old five. Anyway, you coming down the street, you're gonna see the five. You can't miss it. Um, my Instagram is meastwood860. My Twitter is meastwood860. My other Instagram is Seek Therapy Now. My other Instagram is Fresh Five Deli. My other Facebook is Fresh Five Deli. My other Facebook is Seek Therapy Now. Um, but yeah, anywhere, anybody you see one of my shirts, one of my hats, or one of our shirts, one of our hats. This is a team of us. I'll be honest real quick. I have to say this. This Women's Appreciation Month, so I have to say this.
Thank you.
Yeah, for real. My sister put together a real good group of females for me to help. But before that, I had a good group of females. Well, not a group of females, but I had probably like two or three that would always be like, "Oh, you should do this color. You should do that," and it always helped. So like, really, I mean, the growth of my brand, not like the buying of the brand, but the growth of my brand is really credited to women. To be completely honest, because my sister and them put structure in place. Um, they put rules in place.
That's
And
needed.
it's been good. I'm still working on the calendar part, but it's been good. That's yeah, definitely that. So I would say Seek Therapy Now is the best place to find me. They run my email, they run the page, so it helps. If I don't see it, they will see it, and they will make sure that I get back to you.
So if there's anyone else also try to reach him, you could also because he is a member of the Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network. So he has a profile. So if you want to send
Oh
him direct
yeah, and shout out
to
to
the
Nothing But
profile,
Web
there you
Entrepreneur
go.
Web Shirt, the
Yep,
business
the Entrepreneur
blueprint.
Network.
Man,
Yep.
cute. Show them the shirt. Show them the shirt.
Yep, show him a shirt.
No,
You
show me
can,
your shirt. Don't forget my shirt.
oh,
Show me your shirt.
my shirt's right here, right here.
Okay. Wait, they
Yep.
can't see the web part. You gotta lift it
Oh,
up,
there we
son.
go. Let me pull it up right there.
Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. That's right
There we
there.
go.
You can find
Perfect.
me on the website.
Yep. Thank you. This has been a great live episode with you, episode 38. Hope all the viewers today learned a little something different that you could take back to your business being entrepreneurs. His deep dive on different questions was very insightful. And again, he has an event. So if you know any males that are in need of a wellness group, his program going down to Georgia is coming up in June. It's an amazing event too. Before we wrap, anyone last questions? I want to see everybody leave some type of comment in them, give them appreciation because everybody that I bring in here, I ask them and reach out to them. And I only ask them for about 15 minutes. We appreciate it. We definitely
Nah,
appreciate it.
it was needed. I definitely appreciate everybody. I'm glad it happened during Ramadan too, because I'm thinking a lot clearer. I'm not doing too much, and I don't really talk. It's not my thing. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I could talk right now because I told you I would. I'm keeping my word, especially like I think doing it during Ramadan was really good. Like I told you earlier, like keeping I'm very like what's the word I'm looking for? Serious, taking Ramadan really serious this year, and well, I have every other year, but also just being like a man of my word and holding that part down, and like like I credit all this shit to God, bro. If we being all the way transparent, before I used to just say it in my head, and now I say it out loud just because it's like, I mean, why? What's the difference? You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely. If you're going through something, just fast. It doesn't have to be Ramadan, but you need to fast, detox all that music, the food, the conversations, the gossip.
So I hope everybody enjoyed this wonderful episode tonight. This is episode 38. And watch all the other episodes and different shows that we have. This is the Business Blueprint. I'm Quentin McDougall, and this is Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network. Thank you.
Perfect.